planet Cybertron. The final battle between the Autobots and the Decepticons is underway. It was a war for freedom and control over their home planet. The Autobots, under the command of the wise and valiant Optimus Prime, are trying to defend their last outposts from the attacking Decepticons. These alien machines, like battle titans, move through the streets, leaving destruction in their wake. Optimus understands that they cannot hold the defense much longer, and makes a bold decision to retreat in order to save the lives of his fighters and find a new safe haven. He calls on one of his most loyal fighters, B-127. This warrior stands out not only for his fighting skills, but also for his pure heart, devotion to his friends, and the mission. Optimus entrusts him with an extremely important mission to go to Earth, a remote planet, to prepare it for the arrival of the rest of the Autobots and protect it from possible threats. When the B-127 receives the coordinates of the Earth, it wastes no time and immediately sets off. Its capsule travels through the starry spaces, breaking through the darkness of space. Earth, 1987. In the dense forest of California, military exercises are taking place. One team of soldiers is defeating another. Colonel Jack Burns scolds one of the leaders of the group, because of whom the whole group was defeated. Just at this moment, the B-127 lands in this forest near a group of soldiers. The military thinks that it is a combat shell. Burns contacts the military base and expresses his indignation, because these are training exercises. Just at this moment, a large robot rises before his eyes. Burns froze in bewilderment and does not understand what is happening. A few seconds later, other soldiers appear. Noticing them, the B-127 runs away. Colonel Burns gives the order to track this thing down. The military chases the B-127. At some point, to Burns' great surprise, the robot turns into a military vehicle. In the open area, the military manages to knock down B-127. But he gets up and says that he does not want to cause them any harm. But at that moment, a military plane appears. The colonel asks, "Who called the Air Force?" But B-127 says that this is not the Air Force, and tells them, "Run." At that moment, the plane transforms into a large robot and attacks B-127. Despite the fact that the enemy is larger, B-127 gives a worthy rebuff. At some point, the Decepticon damages the Autobot, B-127, the voice module, and throws him off a cliff. Thinking that he has defeated the enemy, the Decepticon loses his vigilance and therefore B-127, resorting to cunning, defeats the enemy. After this fight, B-127 loses a significant part of his memory. But at the last moment, he sees an old Volkswagen Beetle. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, and the alarm clock wakes up a teenage girl. Her name is Charlie Watson. She recently lost her father. Charlie lives with her mother, brother, and her mother's new boyfriend, but she feels alienated from her family. She really wants to have her own car, and so she hints to her mother, who could help her daughter with money. After all, tomorrow is Charlie's birthday. She only needs $500 to repair the car that is in their garage. Charlie herself works hard to earn money for car parts. Of course, she faces troubles and disdain from her peers. They are so successful, happy, they have their own cars and do not have to toil at work during school holidays. But poor Charlie suffers even more when he compares his life with the lives of his peers. At such an age, you want to be like everyone else, you don't want to be a black sheep. After work, Charlie wanders around the junkyard looking for parts, when her gaze falls on an old rusty Volkswagen Beetle. The car seems unusual to her. There is something attractive about it, although it looks completely unremarkable from the outside. Charlie gets behind the wheel, tries to start the car, but to no avail. The car stereo also turns on in the cabin, and at that moment a signal begins to be transmitted into space. At the same time, on some planet, two Decepticons are dealing with an Autobot. And at that moment a signal comes from Earth. The Decepticons kill the Autobot and go to planet Earth. Charlie tries to repair the car, but she can't do it. She is upset because no one will help her, because her father was her only support. Her family lives their own lives, and she feels alienated, because no one cares what is happening in her life. On the morning of her birthday, she receives ridiculous gifts. The helmet, given to her by her mother, is supposed to help keep her brain from splashing out in the event of an accident. And a book called Smile for a Change, given to her by her mother's boyfriend, will help her find friends. This finishes off Charlie emotionally. She has no more strength, because he does not get what she really needs. So she goes to the owner of the junkyard and resolutely declares that she intends to take the Volkswagen Beetle, which she found yesterday in his junkyard. She begs the old man to give her the old car in exchange for hard work. She undertakes to work at the junkyard for a whole year. But the old man, having learned that today is her birthday, gives her the car. She worked hard near the old car, and she managed to start the engine. Seeing Charlie behind the wheel, one of the workers said, "Yes, it is dangerous to drive this car," and the old man confirmed, "Yes, it is suicide, but the girl is happy." She arrives in her car at the garage. When she gets out of the car, she hears something falling off from below. Wanting to figure it out, she climbs under the car, illuminating it with a flashlight from below. When suddenly her car begins to transform, she steps back, stunned, as her eyes watch the old Volkswagen transform into a giant robot. Her heart pounds and her brain refuses to believe what is happening. There is a living being standing in front of her, even if it is made of metal. He looks as lost and scared as she does. They begin to talk and get to know each other better. Charlie says her name and asks what his name is. Since B-127 has lost his memory and does not know his name, Charlie names him Bumblebee, because he buzzes like a little. Later in the evening, two Decepticons appear, destroying two cars. One of them, for fun, killed one person. Then, having figured out where to go, they go in search of Bumblebee. In the morning, Charlie found out that her mother took her car and went on business. Charlie chased after her mother on a moped. Bumblebee, seeing Charlie, happily waves to her, not realizing that other people can see him. So Charlie went to the beach and there explained in what cases it is necessary to transform into a car. At the same time, Colonel Burns is informed that two similar metal creatures similar to the yellow robot that the military, led by the colonel, encountered have been discovered. Therefore, the colonel and a group of soldiers go after these two robots. The meeting took place in an open space far from populated areas. The aliens transformed into two large robots. And since the signal from Bumblebee is gone, the Decepticons decide not to destroy people right away, but to cooperate to get on Bumblebee's trail. To do this, the Decepticons tell people that they are looking for a criminal who is hiding on planet Earth and people should let them use satellites to track down B-127. A little later in the forest, Charlie offers to repair Bumblebee. She somehow activates some module and a hologram message appears in which Optimus Prime reports on the war on Cybertron. But this does not help. Bumblebee cannot remember anything. Later in the garage, Charlie is repairing Bumblebee's car stereo. And at this time he is watching a video of Charlie diving into the pool, and her father is filming her. After that, Charlie turns on the song that they listened to with his father while repairing their car. Charlie tells Bumblebee that if she repaired this car and could start it, her father would hear it. Later, the military leadership decides what to do with the Iron Aliens. It was decided to help them find a fugitive criminal named B-127. Two Decepticons begin searching for Bumblebee using available communication technologies. At the same time, in the car garage, Charlie communicates with Bumblebee. Suddenly, a boy named Memo enters the garage, who dreams of meeting Charlie. This teenager was shocked to see Bumblebee. Charlie explains that this must be kept a secret. The next morning, the teenagers, Charlie and Memo, are driving in a Volkswagen Beetle, and Bumblebee constantly monitors the radio stations in the car radio, as if he is looking for something. At the same time, two Decepticons very skillfully use human technology to search for Bumblebee. The military plans to give the aliens the opportunity to track down the fugitive B-127, and then intend to destroy these aliens in order to take possession of their technology. Meanwhile, Charlie and Memo arrive at the ocean shore, where many of their peers have gathered. One of them, named Trip Summers, wants to jump off a cliff and challenges others who else can do it. At this point, Bumblebee pushes Charlie to do it, because he had seen the video earlier and knows that she is a good athlete diver. Trip also tells everyone that she is a champion in diving. Charlie does not want to jump into the water, although Trip went and jumped. Charlie gets into the car, and the girls of her peers do not miss the moment and mock her. Later in the evening, Charlie and Memo decide to take revenge on one of the girls who mocked her. They wanted to throw eggs at this girl's car, but Bumblebee decided to help and overdid it. He actually smashed or even destroyed the car. After that, they quickly disappear. A policeman saw a Volkswagen Beetle, which rushed at high speed, decided to detain this reckless driver. The police car started chasing the Volkswagen Beetle. But Bumblebee is a very experienced racer. It is not so easy to catch up with him. He demonstrates virtuoso tricks on the road, and of course, disables the police car by jumping on its hood. Charlie and Memo get home safely. In the morning, Charlie goes to work, giving instructions to Bumblebee to just hide in the garage, because no one should see him. While Charlie is working, Bumblebee decides to explore her house, making a big mess in it. He also stuck his finger into an electrical outlet, causing a short circuit, but also, in this way, he made himself visible. The military spotted B-127's location and went after him along with the Decepticons. Charlie returned home and saw what happened to the house. Her mother also came. Charlie quarreled with her mother and left the house with Memo. But they could not go far, because the road was blocked by the military. Charlie and Memo got out of the car. Bumblebee quickly realized what to do. He transformed into a robot, picked up Charlie and tried to run away. But then the Decepticons appeared and attacked Bumblebee. These evil robots could not understand why such an experienced fighter as B-127 did not resist. At some point, the military immobilizes Bumblebee with a stun gun, and Charlie also loses consciousness from the electric shock. When Charlie woke up and came out of her room, she saw her mother with her boyfriend and the military. Colonel Burns accused Charlie of stealing government property, meaning Bumblebee. Charlie escapes from home and together with Memo to find and save Bumblebee. Meanwhile, somewhere in a military bunker, the Decepticons are trying to get information about Optimus Prime, about where he is. They beat Bumblebee and realize that he cannot tell them anything, since his memory cells are damaged. But the Decepticon, having hit Bumblebee again, activated a holographic message in which Optimus Prime reports that all the surviving Autobots, including him, Optimus, will soon arrive on planet Earth. The Decepticons, having learned this, decide to destroy the entire planet along with the Autobots. One of the scientists listens to this message and the conversation of the Iron Aliens. He reports this to Colonel Burns. The poor scientist is killed by one of the Decepticons. Then the Decepticons decide to transmit a message to Cybertron so that more of their comrades would come to Earth to suppress the Autobot uprising. They find a tower to transmit the signal. After shooting Bumblebee, they leave and head towards the tower. Then Charlie tries to revive the lifeless Bumblebee with an electric discharge, but it seems that nothing helps. Suddenly Bumblebee rises to Charlie's joy, and memory restoration is also activated. A few minutes later, the military appears and blows up the door behind which are the teenagers and B-127. They take Charlie and Memo. The colonel drags Charlie, who calls for Bumblebee to run away. The military attacks B-127. They drag him away to later disassemble him into parts. Then, when the colonel pushed Charlie away, Bumblebee began to act. Because his memory was gradually restored, he rose and fought back the military, using his powerful weapon. B-127 made several powerful shots, thereby showing who is the boss. But to protect people, Charlie stops him. She asks him to run and find shelter, but he tells her that he must fight the Decepticons to protect the Autobots. B-127 and Charlie try to break away from the military who are pursuing them, and they succeed. At this time, the Decepticons are working on the tower to transmit a message to Cybertron. B-127 must stop them. He hides Charlie in a trash can, and he himself goes to the Decepticons. B-127 is fighting one of the Iron Aliens. At this time, Charlie runs to the tower to help B-127 and prevent the invasion of Iron Transformers. Colonel Burns also gets involved in the common cause of protecting the planet. He fires at the tower from a helicopter. Meanwhile, Bumblebee threw a chain at his Decepticon opponent and he got entangled in it. And with one jerk he tears this evil Transformer to pieces. At the same moment Barnes' helicopter is shot down and he falls. But Bumblebee saves the colonel, who without his help would certainly have died. Charlie tried to damage the communication node, but the Decepticon transformed into a military aircraft and was about to fire, but did not have time. Bumblebee fired first and shot down this Decepticon. Charlie manages to damage the communication node. But the shot-down Decepticon attacked Bumblebee again. Then Bumblebee destroys the dam with a shot, which causes not only water but also a large barge to fall on him and the Decepticon. The Decepticon dies immediately after being crushed and blown up, and Bumblebee falls to the bottom. Charlie dives from a great height into the water to Bumblebee. She sees that her friend is alive. They float to the surface together. The danger is averted. The Decepticons will not fly to Earth. Colonel Burns did not die. He came up to them and said that Charlie and especially Bumblebee need to leave immediately because the military is coming. The colonel salutes the Transformer who fought for planet Earth and saved all their lives. Charlie and Bumblebee leave. Charlie says goodbye to Bumblebee, who has become so attached to the girl. She hugs him goodbye. He scanned a car driving across the bridge and transformed into a Chevrolet Camaro. Charlie is perplexed and delighted, because Bumblebee could have turned into such a cool car earlier. He leaves. And he is no longer moving across the bridge alone. The B-127 drives across the bridge with a red truck that resembles Optimus Prime. They finally met to organize resistance and confront the evil Decepticons who captured their home planet Cybertron.